Tapping on the cardboard.
Classy. Classy ding for a classy box.
You're listening to The Tales We Tell, a podcast about spooky stories, unsolved mysteries, and local lore. I'm your host, Hannah Parch.
And I'm Katy.
Welcome back! It's just the two of us this time.
I almost brought Critter because husband was being a little bitch. He messed up his shoulder doing some yard work the other day, aka he's just getting old and falling apart. But to be fair, so am I, so it's fine.
We just talked about our ailment.
But yeah, I know, like every little thing is ow. And I was like, you know what? You are so dramatic. Honestly, if I said ow every time that I was in pain, I wouldn't say anything else. Yeah. Like, literally, my neck is hurting so much that talking actually hurts.
Oh, no.
It's not my throat, it's my neck.
It's like moving your body in any way hurts.
Yes.
Yikes.
And, you know, like, not moving, I'm at like a solid 3. Just being perfectly still. Yeah. Moving, I'm probably around a nice 7. Sometimes I'll spike to an 8.
Ugh. Yikes.
And I just still have to carry around my 14-pound baby.
Oh, did he go up a pound?
Yes, he is a solid 14 now.
Congratulations. Oh, wait, no, that's what he was last time.
Yeah, that's what he was when he went to the doctor.
In my head, I was thinking 13, just because, you know, lucky 13.
Yeah. When we took him to the doctor when he had his fever, it was solid 14, and I'm just like...
Sweet little baby.
Little chunky. He doesn't look chunky, though. Like, he's got his, like, baby rolls, but, like, they're not as chunky as a lot of babiys are.
No, he's just solid.
Yeah, he's long.
It's all the brain. It's his
got a
brain
big brain,
is very heavy.
and he's very long.
I feel like I had something I was going to say to that, and I just completely forgot. I don't know.
But, yeah, because even though I'm in a lot of pain, I can still lift and carry and move the baby, but heaven forbid his shoulder hurts a little bit.
You could have offered to just strap the baby to him before you leave, and then you'd be like, then you won't have to worry about picking him up.
Honestly, if it really wasn't that, like, much of a pain in the butt to bring him, I would have, just to spite my husband. just to do that whole, like, really just drive home the point that women are tough and men are giant wusses.
Yes, they are. Agreed.
Hashtag not all men.
Hashtag all women, though.
Mm-hmm.
On that note, we are just going to say it once so that we don't... Your wine's about to fall over, by the way. Sorry. Maybe it's just the table.
It's just the table.
Yeah, so we'll just say it the one time and not harp on it. Would you like to do the honors?
Crow you, Supreme Court.
Yeah, the Supreme Court.
No, I'm gonna say it twice, but both times is gonna be with a specific finger on each hand.
Oh, okay, good. That just happened like 2 days ago, so we're all feeling great, and I feel like this goes without saying, or I hope that we've made it clear with our podcast, but if you are someone who needs to go camping or who has ever gone camping or, you know, may need to go camping in the future, and you need someone to talk to, our inbox is open.
We see you. We love you. I'm more than happy to go camping with you.
Yeah. I'm
happy to talk to you about camping. All of that.
Yeah.
You know. Your reasons for camping are none of our business.
Yep. But we support your right to go camping.
But we love you, and yeah.
Yep. And I apologize because no one's going to feel great after this episode, so sorry. Okay, a couple announcements.
We're not really that sorry, though, are we? Because that's
well,
kind of what we do here.
It is, and I do have a list of fun facts at the end, which is part of my announcements. So, well, like, announcing them is whatever. Okay. I
have no idea what's going on.
Yeah,
here.
Me neither. Okay. Stickers have gone out in the mail to our patrons. We finally got them. I forgot to give Katy hers last week.
Yep.
Sorry.
Still haven't even seen them.
I know. So if you are a patron, be looking in your mailbox. Also, just check your Patreon inbox because I might not have your updated mailing address and I might have sent you a message about it. So just look at that. Okay. Is this episode Dante safe? Sort of. I mean,
we need to turn it into a Dante rating system.
Yeah, I don't know. I should probably talk to Stephanie and figure out what she's cool with him listening to before I'm like, yeah, this is probably fine.
How old is he again? 9?
Sure. Okay. I don't know. He's between 7 and 9 probably. Sorry, okay. Dante. I don't know how old you are. I'll ask next time. Okay. At least one person on our Instagram, her name is Aileen and I love her, voted that I do this episode. And also, Montana from Hemlock and Crow pointed out that we had a lot of Ohio hate last week. And so
it was in good fun. I don't actually have anything against Ohio.
So I promised some redeeming facts about the state of Ohio when we're done.
All right, cool.
So to no one's surprise, I am going to talk about the cult leader, Jeffrey Lundgren.
Yay!
So yeah, we're still in Kirtland, Ohio. We haven't left.
Well, that's, this is punishment for anyone who is truly hating on Ohio. See, we were just doing it in jest.
Yeah, and, so if you're there, or if you're passing through, this is a fun bit of history. Also, the Melonheads, see our last episode. Okay, also, I do want to say before we start, I don't want anyone to think that we are, bashing on a specific religion. We are going to be talking about the LDS, the Church of Latter-day Saints, or the Mormons.
Well, I'm an equal opportunity religion.
Yeah.
Anti-er.
This is obviously, cults are not the same as what people traditionally following the religion believe. Believe what you want. As long as you're not hurting anyone, it's all good. And just because this started in the LDS does not mean anyone who ascribes? No.
Yeah, that won't work.
Ascribes too. If that is your faith, then it's totally fine by me. Just telling the story of some crazy dude who took it a little far.
We're not here to kink shame.
No.
No, seriously. Like I said, we aren't here to kink shame, but also, we're not here to religion shame.
Yeah.
I don't agree with a lot of things, but I mean, I know people within their own religions don't agree with everything.
Yeah.
It's just the same thing as a political party. I might be affiliated with one, but doesn't mean I agree with everything and everyone in that party.
Yeah, exactly.
So.
Okay, so, Jeffrey Lundgren, which I hope I'm saying his name right. I don't actually care.
Is he a bad dude?
Oh, yeah, he's
Oh, well, then I don't give a rat's bottom. I don't know if it's Dante safe or not, so
it'll be
if we're pronouncing his name right or not.
Okay, so I'm gonna call him Jeffrey the whole time. So he was born May 3rd, 1950 in Independence, Missouri, and he grew up in the Reorganized Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, or the RLDS. There's also the FDLS, I think.
See, this kind of just reiterates what I was saying about, people don't even agree with everything in their own religion. And that's why we've got all these different denominations and different sects.
Yeah.
And that's SECTS.
Yeah.
Different sects of religions and...
Yeah. So the RLDS, today I think it's known as the Community of Christ. And from my very brief research, just to give you an idea of what he grew up with, I think they don't love the term Mormon. So, they don't call themselves Mormons. They do follow the Book of Mormon and the Bible. They reject the belief that people can attain God status after death, which is, the one thing I think I knew about Mormons when I was a kid, which was, why my mom told me they weren't, real Christians. Or To be fair, I grew up a conservative Baptist. Not the best. And the RLDS is known to be more liberal than the regular LDS.
Almost sounds like you're saying El Diablo. Or you're starting out to say El Diablo.
The El Diablo.
And you're like, LDS. I'm like, oh, that's not where I thought you were going with that.
So Jeffrey was abused mostly by his father as a child and was known as a loner in middle school and high school. Which,
well, yeah, if he's getting beat up on at home, then
yeah. Also, middle school is already like a rough time, so like, don't blame him. As a teenager, though, he did start to begin.
Begin.
Sorry. Oh, you're like the first person besides Jarek I've talked to today. So.
I had to go out and people this afternoon. It was exhausting.
I literally ordered our box of wine from Walgreens.
I saw the sticker.
Yeah,
like
and then I made
sticker.
And I made Jarek go get it. So haven't left the house. As a teenager, he began to spend more time with his father, who taught him how to hunt and taught him to become familiar with firearms, which will come in later. Mm-hmm. After high school, Jeffrey enrolled at Central Missouri State University, and there he met Alice Keeler, and in 1970, he and Alice got married. Their first son was born that same year. I think she was actually pregnant when they got married. And eventually they had 4 more kids. They ended up with 4 boys and 1 girl altogether. Jeffrey wasn't super successful in school, so he joined the Navy in 1970 and was honorably discharged after 4 years. He moved the family to San Diego for a short time, but money problems forced them to move back to Missouri after he got out of the Navy. While in Missouri, Jeffrey worked a series of hospital maintenance jobs that were unsatisfying / unsuccessful. And meanwhile, he began to become resentful of Alice and possibly became physically abusive towards her after the birth of their daughter in 1979.
Well, yeah, he's unsuccessful in career and life, and now he's got all these kids that his wife just keeps popping out.
Yep.
So just making it worse for him.
Yeah.
Too bad he couldn't, they couldn't go camping.
Good
I don't
tie-in.
actually mean that. I just...
yeah. There's probably a lot of reasons she felt like she needed to have these kids. In 1984, Jeffrey moved the family again, this time to... Ding, ding, ding.
Ohio! Wait, hold on. O-H.
I-O. Ohio! Kirtland, Ohio, actually.
Not hating on Ohio, but that's still like the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
Do you remember how I told you that the LDS had a historic temple it was like one of the first, I think the first place they established a temple? So Jeffrey goes to work at the RLDS Historic Kirtland Temple as a tour guide. And when I say he worked, I mean he volunteered because the job didn't pay actual money. It did come with church-sponsored housing, so he got a house, or he got a place to stay that was owned by the church. So while he was there, Jeffrey began teaching the concept of chiastic interpretation, and I did not even look up that pronunciation. I hope it was right. So he claimed he invented this kind of interpretation. He did not. Are you familiar with chiasmus or chiasm?
I know.
Okay.
I mean, I might be if the word is pronounced a different way.
I'm going to tell you what it is, and you're going to be like, oh, it's pronounced completely differently. It's a literary device.
Peritoneum.
Peroneum. The lungs, right? No. The abdominal cavity. Sorry.
It's the peritoneum.
Peritoneum. That's what it is.
Hey, what's the little hook blade that you harvest wheat with?
It's a scythe.
I'm so proud of you.
I still have to remember the text that you sent me that was like the word sigh and then add to it. Because I was in the art museum when you sent it and I was looking at a picture with a scythe.
Was I in the hospital after Critter for that one?
Probably. Because
I remember I was in the hospital. No, that was with the Louisiana and like New Orleans pronunciations.
I was going to say no, because Tolly was born already. So hopefully you weren't in the hospital. Nope. If you were, you didn't tell me.
No, I was not.
Good.
Unfortunately, not eating that delicious chocolate cake anymore. Man, it's almost worth having another kid just to get that cake.
Which cake are you talking about?
The cake that's in the hospital.
Oh. I was
the cafeteria.
Oh. I got confused because we had cake like the last 5 episodes leading up to when you left to have
I told Bianca while she was still in the hospital, I was like, get you cake. Actually, screw that. Get you 2 cakes.
Get some cake in a to-go box.
And give one to me.
You're like, I'll meet Connor outside the hospital and give him some Tupperware, and you get the cake in it. Yeah. Chiasmus is a literary device in which ideas are presented and then repeated in an inverted or mirrored way. So, for example, in JFK's inaugural address, he said, "Ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country." So it's repeating the same idea, but it's said opposite. But according to Jeffrey, chiastic interpretation was the only way to read and interpret the scriptures. And he said that this was because, I have so many question marks here, everything God created is symmetrical, and therefore true scriptures...
Has he seen my face?
Has he seen his own face? I'll show you a picture of him.
I was about to say, I'm sure that'd be a lot funnier if I knew what he looked like.
He's not the greatest looking dude. He had one hell of a haircut.
Ooh. Ooh.
Yeah, it's like a balding mullet that's very long.
Ooh.
Yeah, it's not good. I mean, this was also in, like, the early 90s.
It's like 3 different things. Like, if you just look at, like, the very top and kind of the front,
yeah.
And then you just look at the middle, it's just back, and then there's the bottom, which is very long.
It's all bad. Anyways, according...
It's not business in the front, it's balding in the front.
Ooh, it's not good in the front, not good in the back.
Rat's nest in the back. Also, when you were talking about the same thing, but, like, frontwards and backwards, I almost like a parallelogram. But I caught myself because I'm like, no, that's not the right word. It's a palindrome.
Palindrome.
That is the one I wanted.
Like my name.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. And also, apparently, like the word Ohio, because one of the reasons Jeffrey claimed he moved to Kirtland was because the word Ohio is chiastic / symmetrical.
Let's repeat the little chant.
Okay.
O-H.
H-O.
Oh.
No.
That's oh-ho.
Maybe, I'm trying to think. Maybe if you, like, blended the I in with the last leg of the...
An H is a sideways I, or an I is a sideways H.
Okay. I don't think you're right, but... What? Oh, like a... Okay, sorry. I forgot what an uppercase I looked like. Oh my God. I was literally just picturing a lowercase h on its side. I was like, that's not right, but we're going by Jeffrey logic. Maybe it is.
That's why whenever I see a construction site and there's I-beams, or, I'll be like, I-beams, or are they H-beams? Like, there'll be some on their sides, like, those are I-beams, but those are H-beams.
Oh my gosh. I'm sorry. That wasn't even my next point to say.
It also wasn't even that funny.
Oh my gosh. Okay, sorry. Everything is symmetrical in God's creation. Okay, so according to Jeffrey, if you read a piece of scripture, you have to look at the sentence before it and the sentence after it. And if they mirror each other, then that scripture is true. If they don't mirror each other, then it's false.
So what about the scripture that's like just straight up a bunch of rules? Like it's a list of rules. Because, you pick one rule, the one before it and the one after it are not the same.
So it appears to me that later in life, he doesn't care anymore if things are symmetrical because he's going to use some...
Because he's finally getting medicated for OCD?
No. Because he wants to use scripture to justify the shit that he's doing.
Uh-huh. Just like so many other religious fanatics.
So I also read that chiastic interpretation was a way to interpret Hebrew poetry. I don't know. Like, it's a literary device. So and because the Bible is a work of literature, some things in it are gonna follow that literary device. I'm sure some things are probably in iambic pentameter too, maybe, or maybe not. But it's there because that's a way of writing, not necessarily, I don't know. So it's like, it's yes.
Yeah, it's more of a writing style than something that's determining veracity or, what's the word I'm looking for? Holiness, but not that word.
Authenticity?
No. Like authenticity, but of
a holy nature.
Yeah, but that's not even the word I want to use there.
We're both the worst people to be trying to think of a word.
Sundays are rough, man.
And yet we always choose to record on them.
Not ready for this week.
Me neither. Okay. Oh, so he also said the Kirtland Temple was symmetrical. And that's why he came there, and also because the word Ohio is, I guess, symmetrical somehow.
Because it starts and ends with the same letter.
Yeah.
And it's an even number.
That's what symmetrical means, right?
No.
Maybe he didn't know what symmetrical meant.
Maybe.
So he was actually very knowledgeable about both the Bible and the Book of Mormon. But according to one religious professor who knew him, he didn't understand the historical context of the Bible, which again, kind of like a lot of people
still straight up wanted women to go bathe in the River Jordan.
Probably.
That's what I was thinking about the book with all the rules is like what Numbers and what Deuteronomy or something.
Yeah, Leviticus. It's got a bunch.
It has a bunch, yeah.
Anytime I tried to do read the Bible in a year, I would always drop out in like February because that's when you hit like Numbers. Like get through Exodus and then it's just like a lot of rules.
I can only imagine going through Numbers and like while you're on your period and it's like, awesome, I'm gonna go disappear from society for 7 days.
Honestly.
And bathe in the River Jordan because I'm unclean. You know what? Yeah, sure, if I can do that, fine.
That actually sounds amazing. Like sometimes I'm like, maybe he was onto something. Like I need to
maybe the women actually did write that and we're like, no, come on girls. Spa week.
Yeah, we have to
we take a week. We go, we have some mimosas, we do some spa treatments, do a mud bath.
Mimosas in the desert.
Yeah. It could be a thing.
I'm sure, yeah.
I know it is. Like, there's got to be, like, out there in California and stuff. Yeah.
It's mostly desert out there, right?
Yeah.
So, regardless of the fact that he didn't understand the historical context of the Bible, his unique teachings and vast knowledge, and I'm going to assume he was probably charismatic, otherwise none of this makes any sense. Mm-hmm. All of that attracted followers, and these followers eventually started to move in with him and his family, and they started calling Jeffrey Dad, which I just want to say, red flag. If anyone asks you to call them Dad,
that is not your actual father. Or father-in-law.
Yeah, it's just... is that...
Yeah, that's...
It's a little much.
The whole...
And he's not that... He can't be much older, if at all older, than most of these people, right? He's born in 1950, and we're in the... 80s. So he's like in his mid to late 30s. Just not... Okay. So in addition to calling him Dad, a lot of his followers contributed their entire paychecks to him. For the group, though. For, like, the wellness of the group. In 1987, Jeffrey was asked to leave the Kirtland Temple and was essentially fired from his non-paying job and evicted from his church-sponsored home. The reason for this... Which I can't actually blame him
for
here.
running a cult in the church-sponsored home?
No, that wasn't why.
No, that's totally cool. Go for it.
What they had a problem with is church donations had been dropping pretty dramatically. And it turns out that Jeffrey was just, like, keeping a bunch of the donations. And part of me is like, okay, fair. They're not paying you. Sure. Take the church donations. Like... I'm not mad about that. You should have been fired for running a cult out of your house and not taking the money, but whatever.
So I'm going to actually disagree with you on that.
Oh, okay.
Because it's stealing, and stealing is wrong.
Yeah.
Like, that's kind of my reasoning, plain and simple. The whole churches demanding donations thing, and I know they're not demanding or anything like that, but I've always had a issue with churches and donations to start with.
Yeah.
Especially with all of the other, basically all the shit that churches get away with.
Yeah.
When it comes to, like, taxes and things and exemptions for this and that, and it's like, okay, they're getting a whole lot of benefit and support, and they are not benefiting and supporting everyone, kind of like public school systems are.
Yeah. So I agree. I also have a bone to pick with churches that expect volunteers to basically work full-time jobs for them and say, oh, you have such a servant's heart. Like, that was one of those Christianese words of, like, God loves a servant's heart. Please do 40 hours a week worth of work for us for free.
I mean, that made sense when, a lot more people, like, had single income households and, like, a stay-at-home mom whose kids were all in, grade school and above now, didn't have anything else, a regular job, so she could work, basically school hours at the church office.
Yeah.
And didn't need the income. Like, sure, fine. But that's not a super common situation these days.
Yeah. Okay, so Jeffrey gets fired. That spring, so he's got all these people moving in with him and following him. So that spring, a new family joined them, although they didn't move in. And this was the Avery family. So this is a picture of the Averys. So it's Father Dennis, who's 49. Cheryl is his wife. She's 46. And then there are 3 girls. Trina is 15. Rebecca is 13. And Karen is 7. Possibly not all in this picture. They're those ages, but...
Yeah, well, Rebecca, unfortunately, I thought looked like Robert.
Yeah.
Not an ideal photo.
Not the best haircut for little Becky, but...
Not a great wardrobe choice.
But it's fine. So this is the Avery family.
We've all had the unfortunate...
Listen, if I posted every bad family picture, I might. Okay, so they move from Missouri to Kirtland, Ohio. They sell all their stuff. They're giving money. All this stuff. They're, like, fully on board with Jeffrey and his teachings.
I don't understand people who do this.
Yeah, well, and I
don't understand the motivation.
I assume that they were probably part of the LDS already, and that they, I don't know, like, maybe this was, like, the first time that, like, the messages really resonated with them. He talks, and
But even still, can't you keep your own house and resonate with the message? Like,
well, it's the 80s, so,
I don't want to belittle anyone who was susceptible and, like, sucked into the cult, because I don't know. I don't know who you are, what your life was like beforehand, like what your circumstances were. I don't want to ever, like, disparage anyone who's been a victim to a cult. But I have a really hard time understanding how this happens.
Yeah.
Like, how
do people get sucked in? Yeah. I can only imagine that they are thinking of it as, like, a church. And so, perhaps in the 80s, because, before churches were live streaming their services, they were like, well, we're going to move to be closer to this church and to serve this church because we feel like this is the right thing to do. And then, like, once you get there, Jeffrey's like, give me all your money.
I mean, I have joked with people about, like, yeah, let's all buy this giant piece of land together and, like, we'll go build our own little homesteads on our own little corners of the land.
Yeah.
And, like, sure, you'll have goats, but then I'll make goat's milk soaps and lotions and stuff.
Jesus.
And, like, it'll be a communal thing in that sense.
Yeah.
Like, I'll feed you pigs, and you can have some of my eggs.
Yeah.
But, like...
Yeah, I don't know.
I've never even seriously considered giving up everything to go live in basically a commune.
Yeah. And I don't actually know where the Averys, like, were living. I just know that they didn't move in with Jeffrey and the others. But they were, like, part of the group or part of the followers. So in November of 1987, Jeffrey moved his family and his followers to a farmhouse at 8671 Chardon Road in Kirtland. Fun fact, that property is now owned by a church of some kind that I didn't look into. If you Google that address, it's like a church now. Jeffrey started putting rules in place. So he told his followers that they were not allowed to talk amongst themselves and that doing so was a sin known as murmuring. And at the same time, he would eavesdrop on them, I guess when they were talking amongst themselves. And then he would bring up stuff that they said later and make them think that he was reading their minds. He started to tell them that they needed to take back the Kirtland temple. And this was because Jesus was going to come back and establish Zion there, which is like the new heaven and the new earth, I think. So now everything is kind of based on we have to do these things so that Jesus can come back and we can all live in Zion.
We have to prepare the portal for Jesus.
Yes. Don't know why Jesus needs us to do all these things before he can come back, but it
is not our job to question the Lord.
Yeah. And I'm actually in the middle of watching a documentary that's about the FDLS, which I think is the Fundamentalist. There's a Netflix docuseries about Warren Jeffs, who was the leader, and he had he got convicted for child sex situations because he was forcing members to get married at 15. And anyways, it's very good. But they are talking on there, he also used this idea of Zion and we have to go to Zion. And his was, if you don't follow these rules, you can't go there. And so Jeffrey was saying, not you can't go there, but it can't even be established until we do these certain things.
I hate the abuse of carrot and the stick.
Yeah, it's very manipulative. Yeah, it's shitty. Mm-hmm. So he's okay, we have to take back the temple. And he tells his followers that he's having regular visions from God. He's talking with him. He would talk of, quote, pruning the vineyard. And then he started talking about the need to kill 10 followers as a prerequisite to Jesus coming back. And this was based on a couple things. This is where he kind of forgot the whole chiastic scriptures, I assume.
It no longer supported him. Yeah. It did not benefit his desires or support his agenda.
So apparently there is a passage in the Book of Mormon that states that 10 people will depart from, quote, the way, which seems like a very general statement. And Jeffrey also looked at the Old Testament of the Bible and believed that it, quote, mandated death and destruction as a means of rendering judgment upon people who refuse to repent. So he basically saw that the Bible was justifying if someone is refusing to repent, it is our job to bring judgment upon them by means of killing them. And then the Book of Mormon conveniently said something about 10 people. Yeah. So he's putting these ideas out there. So the men in the group start doing paramilitary training in preparation for this big, siege on the temple. And Jeffrey even sets a date for when they're going to do this, which is May 3rd, 1988. Which is
his birthday.
His birthday. Good memory.
Which is weird. I never remember things.
I know. I take a little drink to toast your...
Just to celebrate me and my brain noodles.
Yeah. Look, you had half a brain when you were pregnant, and now it's coming back. Mm-hmm. Probably also why your neck hurts.
My brain mush.
It's solidifying. It's finding its way back. In the months leading up to the assault, law enforcement received a couple tips.
Good.
So on April 23rd...
Oh, damn those murmurers.
I know. A neighbor goes to police and said he thought a cult was living in the farmhouse down the road.
He is correct.
He also says that one of Jeffrey's sons had told his kids that on May 15th, I don't know why he picked that date, on May 15th, the earth was going to open up and demons were going to come out. So, Jeffrey, don't let your kids talk to the neighbor kids. Then on April 28th, a former follower of Jeffrey's told police that there was a plan to attack the Kirtland temple. Police didn't believe that person, but they talked to Jeffrey anyways and told him, oh, there's been complaints of gunfire on your property, like just to try to, I don't know. And police then said, okay, we've neutralized the situation, so everything's fine. After this confrontation with police, Jeffrey went back to his followers and told them, oh, actually, God told me to call off the attack, so we're not going to do it right now. Yeah.
Anytime anyone's like, God told me this, I'm like, nope, I'm out. I'm out.
Well, remember when the Earth was supposed to end in 2012?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, man.
10-year anniversary of not dying.
Woohoo! But did it really end? And now we're just all been living in...
We're all in the Matrix anyway.
Hellscape. I can't really see that things have gone uphill since 2012.
Nope.
That's fine.
Things in general, like as a whole, society and everything, hell no. But like, for me personally,
yeah.
I'm doing all right.
I know. I feel so bad sometimes when I'm like, man, like 2020 was such a great year for me. Like we bought a house and like it was our first full year married and like all of this stuff. And then I'm like, oh.
We bought our property.
Yeah. It's like, oh.
The 2020s have been mighty fine.
The 20s are just roaring. Sure are.
Roaring with good times on a personal level. You know, like, I have a critter now.
You do?
He's pretty swell.
Yeah, he is really cute. It's just, the 20s are something.
When you have to zoom out and see the rest of the world, it's like, not as nice as it is when I just focus on me.
Yeah, it's not great. On October 10th, 1988, Jeffrey was officially excommunicated from the RLDS church. And that same day, there was a thunderstorm over Kirtland, as happens from time to time.
Oh, good. I can't wait to see how they've rationalized it to make this about them.
Well, afterwards, you see a rainbow appeared in the eastern sky. And Jeffrey told his followers that the rainbow signified the 7 seals opening, which I didn't actually look up. I'm just going from memory. I believe the 7 seals are signaling the beginning of the apocalypse.
So, I learned that from Supernatural.
I do think I actually learned that one in church, but so rainbow is obviously means the beginning of the apocalypse. So early 1989, so a couple months later, Jeffrey starts telling his followers that they need to go on a wilderness trip before Jesus comes back. I don't know why, but wilderness trip. And meanwhile, the Avery family, remember the nice Averys?
Mm-hmm.
So they still hadn't moved into the farmhouse. And Jeffrey considered this a sin, obviously. And even though they were one of Jeffrey's biggest financial contributors, Jeffrey considered Dennis to be weak. And when he found out that Dennis had a separate bank account for his family, Jeffrey got really upset because he considered it a sin to not give the entirety of their income to the group. So Jeffrey begins talking about the Avery family behind their backs. He blamed a lot of the group's problems on the Averys, and he considered them to be unfaithful and or just not as enthusiastic as they should be about his teachings.
So that's the first half of the 10 that they're trying to get rid of.
So, in preparation for the wilderness trip, many of the followers quit their jobs and began buying provisions. Jeffrey encouraged them to max out their credit cards in these preparations.
How long is this wilderness trip supposed to be?
A couple months.
Oh, gosh. What are they doing? Hiking the AT?
I don't know what they're doing. Well, okay, here's a clue. I do know what they're doing, but I'm not going to tell you yet. He also encouraged them to do things like collect food and weapons, and also forge new birth certificates with different names. Jeffrey tells Cheryl Avery to write to her family and tell them that they're going to be going to Wyoming.
Is this going to be like a life insurance policy scam?
No.
Okay.
Nope, he's not that smart. He says, write to your family, tell them you're going to Wyoming and that you will send them your contact information as soon as you get there. But, like, that's where you're going to be. And then he invites the Avery family over to dinner. So, at some point, Jeffrey had convinced his followers, excluding the Averys, that killing 5 of their members was now part of the process of retaking the temple. So, allegedly, he had at one point also planned on killing some of the other members. So, there's a list of names, but they don't matter right now. So, he did have like 10 originally picked out. And then at some point he was like, 5. We just got to do 5. Here's this family of 5 that are really annoying and we don't like them and they're weak and they're not doing everything that they can to support us. So these 5. In mid-April, he ordered a couple of his followers to dig a 6-foot by 7-foot pit in his barn. And in theory, they understood this to be a grave that they were digging. So on April 17th, the Averys come over to dinner at the farmhouse with several of the other followers and Jeffrey. And after dinner, Jeffrey goes out to the barn with his son Damon and 4 other followers. And those are Richard Brand, Daniel Kraft, Gregory Winship, and Ron Luff. And the Avery family stayed inside with the women and children. Ron Luff was instructed to bring the Averys out to the barn one by one, which he did. And so first he goes in...
If I was the Averys, I'd be freaking out at that.
Yeah. Well, okay. So first...
I'm sure he had some sort of elaborate ruse that probably seemed very plausible at the time to get them out one by one.
He did, which I'm about to tell you. So everyone listening, take a drink. Okay. So first he tells Dennis, the father, that they need help with some of the equipment for the camping trip. Like, can you come out to the barn?
The wilderness trip.
The wilderness trip. Not the
camping trip makes it sound like they're not going to go out into the middle of the woods and, mass suicide.
Yeah. So Dennis goes out and Ron has a stun gun with him. So he tries to knock out Dennis with the stun gun, which for some reason didn't work. But they managed to tackle him. They bind and gag him with duct tape. And then they put him into the pit where Jeffrey shoots him twice in the back. And they thought of not wanting to alert anyone else with the sounds of the gunshots. So they left a chainsaw running to cover up the sounds. So then they go inside, just Ron goes inside, and he tells Cheryl that Dennis needed her help with something. And so she goes out. She is also bound and gagged, and they put duct tape over her eyes as well. And she is placed next to her husband and shot 3 times. Ooh. Next, he goes in for Trina, who's 15. He tells her that they're playing some kind of game and she needs to come out to the barn. So she goes out. She is also bound and gagged and shot twice in the head. And then Ron goes in and he tells Becky and Karen that there's some horses out in the barn and do they want to see the horses. And he takes them out. Becky is shot once in the back and once in the leg. And then Karen, who is 6, mind you, was shot in the chest and the head. So then Jeffrey has them pour lime over the bodies and fill in the pit with rocks and dirt. And then they go back inside and have a prayer meeting. Jeffrey would later claim that the Old Testament books of Isaiah and Deuteronomy stated that he... This is all going to be one big quote. Shall put people to death by binding their hands and feet, stoning them, and casting them into utter darkness. I sort of tried to do a search for that. I find it suspicious that he didn't give any exact scriptures to look at. I'm just going to take a wild guess and say that Isaiah and Deuteronomy probably don't say that you should kill 5 people and then bury their bodies under rocks and dirt.
I haven't read it cover to cover, but I feel like that's one that would jump out at me. It
would stick out a little bit, yeah. So, shortly after the killings, Jeffrey and the followers go on their wilderness trip. They go up to West Virginia, and they end up camping there through October. And while living in West Virginia, Jeffrey decides he needs to take a second wife.
I called it in my brain. I was about to say, I was literally like, I feel like now's the time for him to get a second wife. Like the whole living in the wilderness thing. Like, yeah. When is he gonna start taking more wives?
Well,
dang it! I just wasn't fast enough to say it.
Let me tell you. So he chooses one of his followers named Tonya Patrick, which fun fact, she was one of the original 10 that he had like sort of planned on killing. So he's like, oh,
she got hot.
Well, he's like, okay, you're gonna be my wife. Couldn't figure out why, but for whatever reason, it didn't work out with Tonya.
I wonder if at first he was like, he tried to get a little something on the side and she turned him down. So he's like, all right, you're going on the list, bitch. And then he was like, actually, I decided I'm going to have a second wife. You have to be my wife because God said so. And maybe she went with it for a little bit.
And then she found his list.
He's like, yeah, do you want to be off of my list? Marry me.
And then I like to think she was just like, no, don't want to. So then he picked again, right? Because he'd already like committed to this second wife thing. Yeah. So he picked Katherine Johnson, who was already married to a guy named Larry. And Larry was not super happy about this. And long story short, in December, Larry goes to the cops and is like,
this is the line for me.
This guy murdered 5 people.
I said, a quintuple homicide. Trying to take my wife? No.
Yeah, he's like, I was cool with this until you took my wife. So, I just love that Jeffrey is, like, outed because he was greedy and...
a little horn dog?
Yeah, like, it's just like a man. So Larry goes to authorities and basically says, like, hey, you should dig in this one area. So on January 3rd, 1990, Kirtland police, I don't know why they didn't send the FBI out there to do this. They were just like, hey, Kirtland police, if you have a chance, if you're not too busy with the melon heads, can you go check this out? We got a lead. So
that's probably nothing. Those kooky cult people just like, telling tales, spinning yarns.
Remember the kid that said the earth was going to open up and demons were going to come out? Go check his house. They just send the regular old police over to dig in the barn, and they discover all 5 bodies. And I'm going to give it actually to Kirtland police here because this is January 3rd that they find the bodies. So they do some snazzy police work. They were all 5 members of the Avery family were killed with a .45 caliber semi-automatic weapon. And it's very easy for them to match that to a gun that Jeffrey had purchased in 1987. He had actually purchased that gun with Dennis Avery's credit card, which is kind of sick. By this point, Jeffrey had, for whatever reason, abandoned all of his followers in West Virginia and moved to California. Just took off. And when the news of the Avery's murders broke, the police were, like, very quick, tracked down all of his followers, and then the followers were like, oh, he's in California. I'll tell you exactly where he is.
Yeah. That bastard dragged us out to West Virginia and left us here? Hell
Fuck
no.
That. They were like, nope, he's over there.
He was looking at my wife. I knew mine was going to be next.
Yeah, he, like, took both his wives with him. So
what about his kids?
He took his kids, too. Okay. Yeah. So January 7th, so 4 days after they find the bodies, they arrest Jeffrey, his wife, and...
his other wife.
Actually, I don't think Katherine was arrested. And then...
I wonder if how complicit she was in the whole being wifed twice.
Yeah. So... my understanding is at some point, well, I don't know if he divorced Alice, but years from this, spoiler alert, he does only reference Katherine when he talks about his wife. So on January 7th, 13 members of the group, including Jeffrey and Alice, were arrested. They were all found guilty as fuck. Alice Lundgren received 5 life sentences for conspiracy, complicity, and kidnapping. Damon Lundgren, the son, received 120 years to life. Ron Luff received 170 years to life. Daniel Kraft got 50 years to life. Richard Brand and Greg Winship both got 15 years to life. And then there's some random others. So Sharon Blunchley, it's the worst last name I've ever read. Debbie Olivares and Susan Luff got 7 to 25 years.
Is this for accessory to murder?
I think so. I lied. Catherine was arrested. So Catherine, Tonya, and Dennis Patrick, who's Tonya's husband, they both got, or all 3 of them got 1 year for obstruction of justice. I think they were just like, well, you helped hide him. And Jeffrey Lundgren was...
Well, no, that would be, if they helped tie him down, that's accessory to murder.
No, they helped hide Jeffrey.
Oh, hide them.
Yeah,
I thought you said help tie them. Talking about that, I was like, no.
That was the guys who got, like...
Yes, hiding them would be obstruction of justice, yes.
Jeffrey Lundgren was sentenced to death. So, I found the parole board's meeting of discussing his latest application for clemency. So, I'm just going to read through... it was actually...
What year was this?
This was 2006. So, September 26, 2006, the parole board meets to discuss his application. In it, Jeffrey and his lawyers were able to put forth their argument for why he should be granted clemency, and then prosecution was able to put forth their arguments for why he wasn't. So, Jeffrey's arguments in favor of being granted clemency. He lacked a criminal history. I guess this was... I mean, he stole from the church. I don't know if that counts, but...
I mean, if he was never officially convicted of that, then...
Yeah. So, according to them, the crime wouldn't have happened without the assistance of all of his co-defendants, and they should all be held as accountable as him, which is, like, the shittiest argument I've ever heard in my life. He's like, if I should be killed, they should all be killed. During his time in prison, Jeffrey was considered a model inmate, which he would help tutor other prisoners. I would just want to be like, don't let this guy talk to anyone. Like, don't let him teach anyone. Yeah. Don't let him tutor anyone. Like, he's here for that reason.
If he wasn't able to do what he did without other people, that means that he manipulated them and used them as tools. So...
Ding, ding, ding. Katy works for the prosecution. He argued that at the time of the trial, delusional disorder with grandiose themes was not a recognized mental illness, and if it had been, Jeffrey's lawyers could have successfully argued not guilty by reason of insanity.
Boo.
Also, at the time of trial, there wasn't an option for life without the possibility of parole, and had there been, the jury might have recommended that instead of death. And also, Jeffrey had a change of heart, and he acknowledged that he had misinterpreted the scriptures and was remorseful. Guys?
Nope, that's not misinterpretation. That is willfully and intentionally misconstruing and misrepresenting.
Yay. Okay.
Preying on.
Arguments saying no, he shouldn't be granted clemency. Okay. So Jeffrey had never stated that he wishes he hadn't killed the Averys. Rather, what he said was he wishes he had let them plead for their lives, which, piece of shit. The case was about manipulating people and exploiting their weaknesses, fears, and religious beliefs. It was never about religion, which, amen. Jeffrey had shown disdain for the Averys from the beginning and had used Dennis's credit card to purchase the gun that he used to kill them. He had also been talking...
Which he probably did intentionally as some sort of poetic justice thing.
Some sort of chiastic...
yeah, exactly.
Something.
Interpretation.
He had also been talking about killing the Averys for 2 years. Jeffrey stated that the reason he wanted to kill them was because...
Also, he's had intention to kill 10 people.
Yeah.
And been very clear that 10 people will die at the hands of this cult at some point.
Yeah, because the Bible.
So there is no, like, arguing, you know.
Yeah, like, this premeditated all the way.
Heat of the moment thing.
Yeah. So Jeffrey had stated that he wanted to kill the Averys because they were, quote, disobedient, lazy, wimpy, and strange. Jeffrey had intimidated his followers.
And just kick them out of the cult.
I know. Yeah. I'm like, good grief. Just tell them to go back to Missouri. He had intimidated his followers and likely coerced them into joining him, which that was my short way of saying he had a gun on him when he gathered up the men and was like, are you with me? You're good. We're going to go kill these people. Like, it's not easy to say no to someone who has a gun. 2 experts that were hired by the defense had found Jeffrey not insane, so can't claim that. This one hurts me. Jeffrey had been on death row longer than any of the Avery children were alive. Like, I hope that they saved that one for last.
This is why I am not, I think, in favor of the death penalty, is because it is such a drain on public resources. Yeah. Life in prison is far and above cheaper.
Yeah.
And beyond that, while I think that there are some people who don't deserve to be on this planet, they do not deserve life, I don't feel that I or anyone else have the right to make that decision of who does or does not deserve to be here, because who I think does not deserve to be here might differ from you. Yeah. So I don't have any position saying that.
Yeah.
Also, with appeals and just the this and the that. And
yeah, it's kind of shitty because, like, I don't know, like, reading through this, you want to be like, every point that the prosecution makes, I hope that at every opportunity that he appealed, someone was just like, you've been on here just about as long as those kids were alive. Or, like, you've been in prison longer than Karen was alive. You've been in prison longer than Becky was alive. Like, f*** off. All that being said, justice system is f***ed up in general, but this isn't about that.
This would be Becky's 30th birthday.
Yeah.
No. She might be married with kids of her own by now.
Yeah. A couple more points here. They said God did not command Jeffrey to kill the Averys. He did it because he didn't like them. Yes. Mm-hmm. And also, the case had been reviewed at that point for 16 years by 43 judges, 42 of whom found no error and no violation of Jeffrey's rights.
So, there's always that one dentist.
I know. It's like the 1 out of 10. There were also victim statements presented by 2 of Cheryl's brothers and one of her cousins. And one of her brothers, whose name is Lance Bailey, compared losing his sister to, quote, having both of his legs cut off, learning to walk again, and then never being able to walk the same way as he did before. Which,
I guess he was close with his sister.
Yeah. Like, ugh. And the board voted 8-0 to deny clemency. In October of that same year, Jeffrey tried to join a lawsuit with 5 other death row inmates, claiming that, quote, due to his obesity, the lethal injection would be particularly painful and amount to cruel and unusual punishment. He was so certain that this was going to work to get his execution delayed that on the morning of his scheduled execution, he napped most of the morning because he was, like, certain that they were going to push it back. And then an hour before his scheduled 10 a.m. execution, the Supreme Court declined to accept his last appeal. On October 24th, 2006, Jeffrey Lundgren was executed by lethal injection. No friends or family of Jeffrey's were present, although the Averys family...
They were all locked up.
Yeah, for real. Like, they're all in prison. Avery family was there. And Lance Bailey, Cheryl's brother, apparently stood up right before his death and stood, like, right up next to the glass to make sure that Jeffrey could see him and make sure he knew he was there. After Jeffrey...
That's a good brother.
I know. God bless him. After Jeffrey's death, nobody claimed his body, and so he was buried in the prison cemetery. And his last words were something about, like, his family and his wife. But it was his wife, Catherine, not Alice. Yeesh. I know. And Alice is, like, in prison. Also, his last meal was, like, turkey. It was like turkey and potatoes and a salad. And then like pumpkin pie. And I was like, who wants a salad as part of your last meal?
What would your last meal be?
Ooh. Maybe just like an entire cheesecake. I would have a little tummy ache while I went into the room.
I can't decide between like prime rib or red beans and rice.
You do like your red beans and rice. I love red beans. It's kind of a weird choice, I think.
But it's like my comfort food. Like Shelton's comfort food is spaghetti and meatballs, red beans and rice, or mashed potatoes. Those are like my comfort foods. Yeah. But prime rib is really good.
I don't know. Maybe like a good burger. I don't know. Jarek's made burgers 2 nights in a row, and I'm like really digging those. I was thinking of this the other night, and I cannot remember what I picked. It was something really stupid.
I think I would have Moose Tracks ice cream for dessert.
Ooh.
I've been so deprived on ice cream.
Oh.
Remember how I had a cookout like Reese's Cup milkshake like I don't know, every other week throughout my entire pregnancy?
I actually didn't know that, but I support that. No.
Oh man, my main craving was basically anything with sugar.
Right.
But cookout milkshakes reigned supreme, and it was the Reese's Cup shake. And I kid you not, I left work one day, ran to cookout, and by the time I got back to the office, like it was about time, like I pulled up and I'm like, awesome, I'm gonna get inside and I'm gonna eat this milkshake. And as soon as like Critter knew like it was coming, he started kicking.
Oh,
he's like, "Come on, Ma! I know you've got the stuff. I need it."
He's like mainline that directly through the umbilical cord into my bloodstream.
And of course, now I can't have any dairy for a while.
You just got him
because he can't handle it.
Hyped up on it.
I was trying to build up his tolerance to it. Clearly, it didn't work. But I was so desperate for a Reese's Cup milkshake the other day. So I've got some dairy-free ice cream. It's made with coconut milk. It's vanilla, but there's still like that kind of very strong, like this is coconut milk base. But I put some of the ice cream in a bowl, and I found some like 14 allergen-free chocolate chips. So, like, they're good. It still tastes like chocolate chips. Yeah. But there's no dairy, no soy, and a lot of other things. Put that in the bowl. And then that powdered peanut butter.
Okay. Like protein peanut butter?
Yeah, it's just powdered peanut butter that I put it in, smoothies. Because it's easier to blend and clean instead of, like, actual peanut butter. And I figured, it'd be easier than actual peanut butter to, like, blend into the ice cream. I make my own Reese's Cup shake.
Was it good?
It was, I ate it. So I will not be making it again. But it was,
I was really excited. You really hyped it up. And I was like, oh my gosh, was it good?
No. It was not. It was edible enough to the point where I finished it.
I have recently learned that Dairy Queen will deliver, or like DoorDash will deliver Dairy Queen for like $1 delivery fee.
Nice.
Which, like, of course, after like fees and tip, it's like $13 for like a small Blizzard. And I've been taking advantage of that sometimes, but I'm also realizing I don't really like Dairy Queen ice cream that much. I had like half of a Blizzard in the freezer, and I ate that before you came over, and I was like, this isn't that good. I would much prefer Cookout.
It's been so long since I've had Dairy Queen and dairy.
I'm going to go ahead and tell you, you're going to be disappointed.
So when I can finally eat dairy again, that's not where I'm starting.
No, go straight to Cookout.
Straight to Cookout. Do not pass go. Do not collect, collect $200.
If you
spend $200 worth of Cookout milkshakes.
Just buy yourself a Cookout gift card. Let me know when you're back on dairy, and I will personally buy you. Okay. Yeah. So, are you ready for your fun facts about Ohio?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Some of them are
Bring it on, Buckeyes.
Okay, these are all from Cleveland.com. So if you don't like them,
take it up with them.
Whoever writes that. Okay. So did you know that Ohio is known as the mother of modern presidents because 8 U.S. presidents are from Ohio? Of those 8, 4 of them died in office.
What makes them modern, though? Like, I
don't know.
In the last century?
No. I'm going to read to you the presidents.
Okay.
And then I want you to tell me the 4 that died.
Oh, okay. God, I'm so bad with U.S. history. Ooh.
All right.
Okay.
William Henry Harrison, who, by the way, technically was from Virginia, but he moved to Ohio and was a senator there before he became president. Ulysses Grant, Rutherford B. Hayes, James Garfield, Benjamin Harrison, William McKinley, William Taft, and Warren Harding. There's 2 Harrisons.
Taft one of them?
No.
Oh, damn. I don't know. Wait, was Rutherford B. Hayes?
No.
I didn't think so. Because I actually, like, in 4th grade had to do, like, a little project on him. I was I don't think he was one.
Most of these presidents are people that I would forget were presidents.
Yep.
Like, Hayes? Who? Benjamin Harrison? Who the fuck is that?
Yeah, I don't know who that one was.
Okay, do you want me to tell you?
Yes.
Okay. William Henry Harrison, the first one. He's the one who gave a really long inaugural speech during like a blizzard or something.
Yeah, and got pneumonia.
And died a month later.
I was going to guess him, but I couldn't remember all of the names.
Yeah. James Garfield was assassinated.
I was going to guess Garfield too.
McKinley was assassinated. And Harding died of a stroke while in office.
Okay.
So, Ohio, you are, I don't know the baseball term, batting, I don't know. You're 4 for 8 on living or presidents who lived. Oberlin College, I meant to look up where that was. It's somewhere in Ohio. Became the first college in the United States to admit women in 1833 and then African Americans in 1835. Good job. I do want to point out that Salem College in Winston-Salem, North Carolina was a women's institute that was educating women since 1772.
High school was a school before the country was a country.
There we go. So
it was an all-girls school then as
not to rain on Oberlin's parade here.
No.
Ohio is home to the world's largest basket, which is
not at all what I thought you were going to say, but all right.
It's a 7...
Way to go, Ohio. Congrats.
It's the funniest thing. It's a 7-story building that I think this is the former headquarters. I think it's still the headquarters of Longaberger Basket Company.
I have a Longaberger basket.
Oh, okay.
And somebody gave it to me as a gift when I was younger.
The company is literally shaped, to me it looks like a picnic basket, but it's just a 7-story building and like the little spaces in between the weaving are the windows.
I remember seeing on, there was an episode of How It's Made on History Channel years and years ago. I used to love that show. That's how I learned how whistles work.
Oh.
But Longaberger was an episode.
I should have had a...
I was about to say, do you have the picture pulled up?
I should have. It's just a giant basket, but it's a building.
That's precious.
I know. It's really cool. If I ever make it back up to Ohio, I might have to stop and see that. This is the obvious fact, but I had to throw it in there. The Wright brothers are from Dayton, Ohio. Mm-hmm. So that's why I like to think that we're in a friendly competition with our license plates. Because theirs says birthplace of aviation.
But we're first in flight.
Yeah. We're like, you fuckers might have been from Ohio, but you had to come to North Carolina to do it.
Right.
Okay, the Columbus Blue Jackets, the NHL team in Ohio, their name came from the fact that Ohio sent more soldiers to the Union Army during the Civil War than any other state.
That's why the Tennessee Volunteers are the Volunteers.
Really? Who were they volunteering for, though?
Who do you think? The Confederacy.
I'm just checking. It's maybe not the best thing to name your mascot. Okay.
Wait, hold on. It might not have been the Civil War. It might have been the... I don't know. I gotta look it up.
The Revolutionary War.
Yeah.
The American Indian War. The War of 1812. I'm out of wars. I don't know any more of them. The French and Indian War? Did I already say that?
The Volunteers derives from the 1,500 troops from Tennessee that fought under Andrew Jackson against the British at the Battle of New Orleans during the War of 1812.
Ooh.
Same volunteer spirit carried on with the War of Texas Independence broke out.
Okay. Probably not the best, but
I mean, the first one, they're fighting against the British.
Didn't Andrew Jackson literally murder millions of Native Americans?
I never said I was never being proud of Andrew Jackson. I was just reading an article.
Okay, well, I'm going to end on my favorite fact about Ohio. Clarissa Explains It All.
Nice.
Was set in Ohio.
Cleveland, right?
I think it was technically an unnamed town.
Okay.
But it's in Ohio. And, yeah. And for any of our young listeners, if you don't know what Clarissa Explains It All is, look it up and find some episodes because it's Melissa Joan Hart at her best. Yes. I love that
It's the 90s at the best.
I know. And do you remember that she had a pet alligator named Elvis? Mm-hmm. And remember her friend Sam?
Who would climb through the window on his ladder? Oh.
Sam, and she had like that annoying brother.
Yeah, Fergus.
Oh my gosh. Anyways,
I miss the 90s.
I do too. But those are some fun
Everything
facts.
was so technicolor. All right, Ohio.
So now, yeah, everyone knows lots of things about Ohio, including some bad stuff. Katie, do you want to yell at our socials?
Oh, no, I will say them calmly into the microphone.
Yeah,
How about that? You can find pictures of everything we talked about, from bad mullets to basket buildings, on our Facebook and Instagram. Just search The Tales We Tell podcast. If you want to see pictures and other media, but you don't do the social media, you can go to our website, thetaleswetellpodcast.com. And if you want to support us, get yourself some sweet, sweet swag, you can check out redbubble.com, search The Tales We Tell, or you can become a patron at patreon.com, search The Tales We Tell. You get stickers and bonus content and love notes, and as always, our love and undying affection.
Yep.
And that's our show, guys.
Yeah. And I will try my hardest to find a patriotic... since I'm feeling so patriotic right now.
Right. I just meant because the next episode will be around the 4th of July.
I'll find something fun themed. I did go ahead and send you the Chris Evans interview with puppies, and I'm pulling up the Tom Holland one so that I can watch it when we're done.
Excellent.
And I'm reminding myself now to give you stickers before you leave.
Good.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks, everyone. We'll see you next week. Bye.